All right, welcome everybody to another weekly Delegate Office Hours. This is a place where, sometimes there's one delegate, sometimes there's 6 delegates, and we're all here to kind of just talk, chill. If there's no talk happening, we could all just work on our stuff as we usually do. But otherwise, yeah, I see there's a handful of new faces here today, and also there are some folks from the core units, Psychonauts from Immunify Security, Peyton's from Gov Alpha, Roberts from Collateral Engineering Services, and we have a couple of delegates, Do and Paper Imperium. Paper Imperium represents GFX Labs, Do represents Do. And then Andrea, Peter, and Josh, I believe, are visiting. So yeah, welcome guys.
Thanks for having us, dude. Great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see everyone.
Yeah, and the way we typically run these calls is if there's no like set topic that really people want to discuss, it's just like office hours. So feel free to like jump in. Obviously, like basic rules of decency, like don't try not to like cut people off. You know, DBAA, don't be an asshole, right? So yeah, we're all chilling and yeah, we're here to have a good conversation. So, Josh, Peter, Andrea, what's up? What are you guys here for? What do you guys want to ask? I have a feeling like you guys aren't here for no reason.
Yeah, well, we're invited by Paper Imperium, and it was great. Thank you for inviting us, and been longtime friends with Do, so great to see him here. This is our first time joining this call, so great to meet everyone. Yeah, so we're very interested at Origin in working with the Maker team. We actually have a long history of working and collaborating with Maker from with our first decentralized marketplace that we launched. We had DAI was the first, the currency we added to our platform. We've done some marketplaces with Maker as well, some co-marketing efforts over the years. So we've had multiple initiatives with your team, but never with the core protocol itself. And so in the past, we put forward a MIP to have OGN and OUSD added as collateral to Maker. The OGN one passed the initial green light poll, but then stalled out as far as implementation. We can talk about why that happened. And then what really brought us back in was the conversations around Coinbase and the increased interest in how Maker can be earning higher yields on the capital that they're sitting on, and the discussions around moving those funds to giving those funds to Coinbase really caught our attention, and we thought, hey, we have a decentralized alternative that might be better aligned with the ethos of decentralization, keeping everything on chain where everyone can see it, versus taking on that counterparty risk, no matter how much we all trust Coinbase as a brand. So that's kind of what motivated us to be here. I can talk more about OUSD and how it fits, but yeah, maybe I can stop there and see if anyone has anything to any sort of immediate reactions or thoughts on the proposal we put forward. So Peter wrote the MIP 87, if anyone has had a chance to see that. It probably needs a little bit of work because we kind of put it up blindly without getting feedback from the delegates ahead of time, which is our bad. But that's why we're here now, to come and listen more than talk. We really want to gain insights into what's important to Maker today. What are the priorities? How much are you prioritizing generating yield for the treasury? How are you thinking about onboarding new assets and weighing things like the costs of the oracles? And I know there's been an effort to offboard a lot of assets. And so want to kind of understand your thinking around that and how you weigh that. And then also interested in what you're doing with gelato and arachis. Obviously, we've seen that drive a lot of dye being printed, and wondering if that's a better path for us to go with this proposal as well.
Yeah, cool. Thank you guys for coming on and sharing a bit. Also, there's a Know Your MIP call that's being planned, I believe on October 25th, tentatively for 8 a.m. PST. So just a heads up there. And so I see Du has his hand up, so go for it, Du.
Yeah, I just want to ask more about, like, because we mentioned about the Coinbase method, and basically that we have a lot of USDC in the system, and then the protocol, we do want to gain some yield from it. But I think that the reason why we've been kind of leaning toward, for example, using Coinbase or looking at US Treasury is because the yields on US Treasury right now is quite high. And obviously there was a lot of discussion about, okay, why don't we just put in, for example, Aave or like Compound or others? And then the truth is that right now in DeFi, secure yield is very, very low, as you can imagine. I believe that it's probably less than 2%, maybe 1%, right? So I mean, I have to look into more OUSD yield right now, but like what's the yield right now? And then if the yield is high, like what's kind of keeping it high? Like, is there like some protocols that you guys are willing to risk, or what's the mechanism? I will be curious to hear it.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, the 30-day trailing on OUSD is 1.87%. So that's where it is right now. Obviously, yields in DeFi are lower, and we're we're largely the mercy of macro as far as what those yields net out to. There are multiple reasons why OUSD will always return a higher yield than what you would get putting funds directly into Aave, Compound, or Curve, which are the underlying strategies. And so there's multiple components that go to it. One is just that the protocol is chasing the yield. So as yields move around from one place to another, it'll try and chase them and optimize it there. But the other reason we have higher yields is because of a design decision we made to turn off the rebasing on smart contracts. So OUSD is this yield-bearing stablecoin. It deploys USDC, DAI, and Tether into these strategies, Compound, Aave, and Curve, with some other ones on the way. And then those funds, as they earn yield, OUSD rebases and creates more units of OUSD in your wallet. So it's kind of the most convenient way to participate in DeFi. Now, that rebasing component actually broke things like Uniswap because they're expecting a certain amount of tokens on either side of the pool, and when that changes unexpectedly, the whole thing breaks. And so our solution to fixing that was we just turned off the rebasing part of OUSD when it's being held on a smart contract. However, it's still and always 100% backed by those underlying stables. And so what happens is we have all of this capital is sitting on Uniswap, on Curve, and all these other smart contracts that's not earning yield, but that acts as a boost for everyone else. And so you get this boost factor that you have more capital being put to work, but only the people who are holding it in an EOA or have opted into the yield are actually receiving that yield. And so the smart contracts are just, they're holding a stablecoin just like, USDC or DAI, where it's just worth $1 and that's it. And so that actually benefits the other holders of OUSD significantly.
All right. Well, thank you for the response. But I think that the reason why I asked that was also the question about, I mean, obviously it's up to the protocol to decide, but you can imagine that right now because ES is still kind of, I would say, maybe higher than the Aave, but still it's lower than US Treasury. So it's the question of, okay, if the maker is willing to risk it anyway, and then go for the maximum yield, that would it make
Yeah.
more sense to, for example, chase the US Treasury versus, let's say,
Yeah.
might be lower, but yeah, maybe more decentralized DeFi version. But I think that from the community, their thinking is like, okay, the risk from USDC is the same, right? So, but yeah, I'm curious to hear other perspective. And so you also submitted a proposal to have an origin token as collateral as well, from my understanding, or?
This was a while ago, and so it got sort of a green light poll, but then stalled out. And this was for for adding OGN, which is our governance token. And so we can set that aside for right now. I think probably more top of mind for us is how we integrate OUSD. And there's sort of two different ways we could approach it, and I'd love to get delegates' views on like which one is more compelling, more interesting. First one would be the treasury angle, which is kind of how we wrote up our MIP of, hey, you guys want to increase yield. Right now you're talking about giving it to a centralized counterparty. That's not very in line with the ethos of decentralization, what we're all trying to accomplish here. Yes, the yields are higher right now, but you're taking on different kind of counterparty risk. You lose some of the transparency on where those funds are and being able to audit it on chain and see exactly what's going on. And maybe we can have go after being the decentralized alternative for generating yield, or we could take a focus more on how do we do something more like Gelato and Arrakis, where we're creating that loop, right, where people can participate and use OUSD to mint DAI, and then from there people can loop that around. But in the process, that ends up creating a lot of liquidity for the USDC DAI pair. And so curious to get the delegates' opinion on which one of those approaches is more interesting to all of you.
Yeah, I think that regarding this, maybe Robert can give more kind of idea regarding it, because it is related to collateral onboarding after all. Although I am kind of curious about the liquidity there, but we do have, I think that some of the protocols they approach and talk about, like, especially for less liquid one, their offer is, for example, using their treasury or like something bigger, like to basically kickstart the usage. Although we sometimes do get backstep or not used well. We see with the Wire, as much as they're nice people, we've seen that their usage was 0 until they went back and then refilled it. So we'll be kind of curious to hear other core unit and other delegates' thoughts. But thank you for sharing.
Hey Josh, it's Robert. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, I can. So there's basically two different approaches we're considering and how to come at this. One is using OUSD, our yield-bearing stablecoin, as a way to generate yield for Maker, but in a decentralized way. So you can think of it as a competitor to the Coinbase proposal. Hey, instead of moving these funds into a centralized counterparty, why don't you keep it all on chain with a yield-bearing stablecoin? Everyone can see it on chain, audit it, knows exactly how the yield is being generated. And then the other approach would be coming at it more from using OUSD as collateral for minting DAI. And this is similar to what you've already done with Gelato and Arrakis, where you're taking their LP tokens as collateral for minting DAI. And this drove, I think maybe 600 million. It was a lot higher before, but last I looked, it was down to maybe 600 million DAI that had been minted using this approach. And so that allows, people to mint DAI, take the LP tokens, and then mint more DAI, and they can loop that around for extra yield. And that has a couple positive effects for Maker. Obviously, it generates more fees, creates more DAI, but importantly creates more liquidity for the USDC and DAI pair, so that people can for stability and trading in and out of that.
Yeah, thanks for that. So it's a little complicated because of some of the in-game MIPS, but let me talk about the current state. So when a collateral application comes in, Typically, they don't come in as a MIP, but we've had a series of MIPs come in related to collateral. We try to assess the type of underlying collateral, and what you'll find is that I think you would more classify this particular application as decentralized. And there's a pretty different process. Sometimes it's related, sometimes not, when we deal with what we term a real world asset, which is typically backed by something off chain. And so as part of the onboarding process, there's a group of collateral stakeholders, of which we are one, Collateral Engineering Services. We also facilitate the process of this cross-functional team at Maker, and each group will provide assessments and feedback. So for example, we have a risk team that I don't see represented on this call. That would be a key element of providing an assessment. And if there were multiple approaches, they would be able to give feedback on which one might be more appropriate. And then what we do is, from an engineering perspective, we have an assessment on, from a technical perspective, is there an increased risk of doing one implementation over another? A lot of times we just need to understand the money flows to figure out what technology makes sense, if there's any technology at all, by the way, right? So and then typically there's something there. Then there's the Oracle side of things that may or may not be involved. So it's really a collective answer to your question. And the reason why I spent the time to kind of put that out there is because I just wanted you to know that it's unfortunately not as straightforward as getting it's option A over B. So just keep that in mind. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to your question, but hopefully later today we can talk a little bit more about the particulars when we get on our call.
Sure, that's helpful. And I do understand there's multiple things you have to weigh on, risk and reward, right? What's the complexity of the smart contracts? What's the risk you're taking on? What's the counterparty risk? What's the yield we can earn? And so I get there's a very complex formula there. Anyone else have a view on this, on what's sort of higher priority for Maker, or maybe even just like broadly speaking, like how would you rank sort of Maker's top priorities as an organization right now, and what you care about the most?
Yeah, so I think for 3F Delegate, it boils down to obviously putting some of that money to work, right? Because no company in their right mind would have $3 billion sitting in cash. No human being should also have any cash. But anyway, if I understand correctly, your stablecoin is backed by 3 stablecoins, and it's also a fractional algo stablecoin. It's not, okay.
It's not fractional. It's 100% backed. Yeah.
Got it. So the risk that it's exposed to is obviously USDT, USDC, smart contract getting blacklisted, DAI falling apart, then we're all screwed, sort of. Can you walk us through why there hasn't been much traction? I mean, I think you have about 40 million outstanding. And also, what happened with the yield that used to, I'm not sure if it's still active. There used to be sort of like a DSR, a DAI savings rate. I believe there was a OUSD savings rate also. I don't know what you guys call it, but can you walk us through what happened? I know there was a hack back in November 2020, if my mind serves me right.
Mm-hmm.
And you took a loss there. So if you could just walk us through all that, and what's the downside?
Yeah, great questions. So I think I'll start with a hack first and go through it a little chronologically. So yeah, when we first launched OUSD, it was, we had a demo DApp up, and we had a big warning across the top saying these contracts haven't been audited. Be prepared, you might lose all your money, because it takes so long to get on auditors' calendars. That we had an audit queued up, but it wasn't for a few months, and we were eager to start testing our code and seeing if our ideas actually worked in the real world, and if anyone actually found it useful to have a rebasing stablecoin that automatically delivered yield. And so we put the contracts up there, and unfortunately we had a reentrancy bug, just one line of code that we missed in a internal code review, and we were hacked for $7 million. And the company, made everyone whole out of the treasury. So all of the original holders of OUSD are very happy, and have largely stuck with us from that. More importantly, that it was a very sobering and important lesson for us, because we started to take security a lot more seriously. And we completely changed our processes, internal processes, and how we do code reviews, checklists, how we have multiple auditors that look at every single change we make. And we're in a much better place today. I just noticed I was looking at InsureAce, the decentralized insurance protocol. We're one of only 6 protocols that have a AAA rating on their platform, and that's we have audits from Solidified, Satora, Trail of Bits, Open Zeppelin, and we've retained Open Zeppelin on an annual basis, so they're reviewing everything every month with us. So we're very committed to security, and I think we've come a really long way to making sure that what happened in the early days will never happen again. So that's kind of what happened there. As far as how you think about the risk, I mean, a lot of you can think of it as a basket of LP tokens. And some of them are for LP tokens that Maker already accepts on your platform as collateral. So we're only in the safest protocols there, Compound, Aave, Curve, where I think that most people in the industry have at least a decent handle on where the risks lie with those protocols. Billions of dollars of assets have been in there, and so we can feel pretty confident about that. Our team shares some of the concerns that Maker has around exposure to Tether. And so while it's still a supported asset, a collateral asset for OUSD, we've been reducing our exposure there. I think we're less than 1% to date. So that is the Tether risk is very, very minimal. But it is, at this point, it's still accepted. If someone deposits Tether, it will be deployed and put to work until strategists come and rebalance that. So that's it from a security standpoint. We are very interested in driving adoption. We did a liquidity mining campaign, which helped increase the amount of OUSD that was in circulation. The timing was pretty unfortunate with Anchor and UST, as the yields there were beating out what OUSD could offer, and we weren't willing to implement Anchor-like strategies in OUSD. We thought it was destined to explode, and unfortunately we were right. But that's largely what drove the decrease in TVL, which was 300 million before, and now it's down at 40. But we're seeing that we're expecting that to grow as we continue to do outreach like this and get more people involved. The important thing to note here is it doesn't really matter how much capital is going in, because we're a wrapper on these other protocols, like Compound, Aave, and Curve. You think of it as a convenience wrapper to optimize the yield, and so you're not limited. It doesn't really impact the outcomes for Maker as far as how much other capital is in the pool, since we're helping you deploy into those other pools. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I got 3 more questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
I could hit up on there. One is product market fit, right? It seems to be a lack of that. As a startup, how do you plan on getting some PMF going? Second part, again, you're a startup. It sounds to me like you might be burning through money, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but how do you manage to stay alive with, how do you earn any kind of income as a protocol? Third, you hit upon there the wrappers around Compound and Aave, but I see the link that Peter provided. I don't see anything on Aave, or unless this is wrong. So if you could just go over those three things: PMF, how do you stay alive in such a competitive environment of stable coins? And third, if you could just go over that wrapper again with regards to Aave.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so product market fit is sort of a hard thing to define, as in traditional world. If you have $40 million of funds that are betting on your protocol, that be some, but there's at least $40 million worth of product market fit, and we've seen up to 300 million of product market fit. So there's definitely some people that see this as valuable. The way we think about it is OUSD is something that is just obviously better for people. If you had the choice to hold OUSD and use it as an alternative to USDC, why would you ever choose to use the stablecoin that's not earning a yield if you could use one that is earning you something? And so the reason that people aren't using USD as an alternative to other stablecoins today is just because it's not ubiquitous. And so we have a lot of work to do to get it integrated into other platforms, make it easier for people to acquire. So we're spending all our time on other exchange listings, other integrations, working with other protocols, and trying to make it easy for people to use OUSD as an alternate stablecoin. And so we're continuing to work on that and doing calls like this to try and learn more on how we can be a better partner in the space. As far as funding, we're lucky to be very well capitalized. We've raised $38 million back in 2017, 2018. And so we're in a very strong position as a core team, and have a strong treasury and multiple years of funding. As far as the protocol is completely decentralized. It takes 10% of a yield that's generated by OUSD, and then it uses that to buy back OGV, which is the governance token for OUSD. And then that's a reward for the people who are staking. So OUSD uses a VE OGV model similar to Curve, where the people who are most committed to the long-term success of the protocol are the ones who get the highest voting power, and then also the highest rewards. And so the idea there is that the protocol is going to be generating this revenue. As the TDL grows, the rewards will increase, and the people who are most involved in governing it will be the ones who are rewarded there. As far as the wrapper and how the strategies go, things change around pretty rapidly in DeFi on where the highest yields are. We're also seeing a move by the lending platforms to reduce or remove the reward tokens that they've been offering. And so that's why you'll see, like, while Aave is supported as a strategy, it won't necessarily have funds deployed at all times, because we can currently make a higher yield on Compound or Curve. And so that's one of the advantages of using something like OUSD, is that you don't have to do that constant reallocation of funds yourself. You can trust the protocol, and the strategist will take care of that constant rebalancing. And that's what gives you a higher yield than you'd get if you were like saying, hey, why don't we just deploy into Aave ourselves and leave it there. You will get a higher yield from using OUSD as your way of coming in.
And with regards to I think there's some earn rewards there, right? OGV, I think it's called. Is Maker getting that in return? Is there like any kind of token that can be earned here by the protocol, by MakerDAO?
Well, the main thing you're earning is the yield that shows up as extra units of OUSD. Now, OGV is the governance token. And so that is, again, there's a buyback with 10% of the yield that's generated by OUSD goes to buyback OGV, and that's given as a reward to the stakers of OGV. And then as a bootstrapping mechanism, there are OGV rewards. So you can earn it by buying and staking OGV. You can earn not only your share of the protocol fees, but also those extra rewards that are given in OGV. And we're certainly open to discussing ways to incentivize Maker with OGV if that's something that would be helpful or interesting to you guys.
Got it. Appreciate answering the questions I have there. If no one else has a question, I guess I could follow up with network effects and how are you thinking about getting that? Is it something where you're going to focus on that marketplace that you guys have had since, I believe, 2019, similar to a decentralized eBay, or are you more focused on scaling OUSD? So kind of want to get an idea there how you guys are planning on growing your protocol with regards to network effects.
Yeah. So it's funny. I mean, you've been obviously following Origin for a while to know about a decentralized marketplace. We're not focused on that today. That's what we originally started with in 2017. We're like, let's be a decentralized Uber and Airbnb and a platform for any kind of marketplace. It's a great idea. I think someone's going to accomplish it sometime. But there's so many pieces that need to be solved first around identity, scaling, lot of privacy. Like there's a lot of challenges there that we're not quite ready, and we don't think it's the requisite technologies in place for us to build that. And so where we're focused today is on OUSD and then also our NFT platform. And so our NFT platform, very separate product, but it's been used by some of the largest NFT sales in the space. It started with Blau's sale last year, but they did $11.7 million. And you can look back, and this was really the moment that brought NFTs into mainstream consciousness. Up till then, NFTs were only things that people on calls like this would know about. But after Blau came in and raised that much money, all the music industry, celebrities, all of these mainstream people started paying attention. And then from that really opened the door for us to do a bunch of NFT sales, a bunch of EDM DJs like Bassjackers and Kashmir and Don Diablo. We've worked with big brands like SpaceX. We did their NFT sale. We did like 70,000 NFTs in a single drop and raised a bunch of money for cancer research. And then we have worked with people like Paris Hilton. So pretty bizarre where this journey has taken us. But those are the two focuses for us today. It's focusing on NFTs and OUSD. And really the what's behind both of these is how do we actually enable financial opportunity for all? How do we help people, whether you're speculating on NFTs and wanting to make money as an NFT flipper, or if you want to hold something more safe and conservative and you want to hold OUSD in your wallet, we want to enable that kind of financial opportunity for everyone and just make it really, really easy for people to come in and participate in this space. And so we view OUSD as really one of the fastest and easiest ways for people to get access to DeFi. And it was inspired by our own experience yield farming, right? Where we take our stable coins, put them in some farm, and you have to come back and harvest your rewards, and then you have to swap those reward tokens into more stables. And you have to take those stables and redeploy them in a farm again, so you get that compound interest. And all of that is just so much work. Gas costs are so high, and it really prohibits so many people from being able to participate. And OUSD is our attempt to open us up and democratize it and make these great protocols and the yield that you can generate available to everyone.
Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the questions.
Actually, I think one thing that I didn't catch there is no rebasing mechanism, right? It's not a fractional, I think you said, algo coin.
So it is rebasing, but it only rebases upwards and only rebases when there's extra yield that's being accrued. So it's not like an ample fourth where the price yo-yos up or down or OHM or anything like that. It's purely distributing that yield. So it's 100% backed at all times. And when you earn yield on compound average curve, you get extra units of OUSD in your wallet. And so instead of looking in your wallet and seeing, oh, cool, I have 0.0127% of this pool, you can just look at your wallet and go, oh, cool, I have like, $1 million worth, and you can see exactly what your balance is and exactly what you're holding. So it's much more akin to like a high yield savings account where your balance is right there. All you have to do is check your balance, and you know exactly how much money you have, and it's redeemable one-to-one at any time. So you have access to the underlying stable coins. You can pull those out at any time.
Understood. Thank you.
Hey, Tim Black, just to clarify a couple things. OGN is actually the governance token for the NFT side of the business. It's not related at all to the origin dollar side. It's completely separate because in the past, OGN was the governance token for both sides of the business, and it didn't really make sense to have one governance token for two completely separate products. I believe the OGN staking rewards are paid out at the end of the cycle, which is what, three months, Josh?
That's right.
Correct.
That's right. Yep. Yes, that's the OGN is the staking token for our NFT platform. So we're working with a lot of NFT projects, and then you can stake your OGN for a percentage of the yield that's generated on the marketplace fair. And so it's also a decentralized protocol, and super interesting if you're more into NFTs and interested in what we're building there. When Maker's ready to start taking NFTs as collateral, let us know.
Yeah, there's plenty of research on that. You can poke around on the forum. Money Supply authored something pretty good, and then Arbiter, I think, from Protocol Engineering also did something awesome. So you probably want to check on both of those. Yeah, the future of NFTs is definitely really interesting applications wise, but it is, of course, frontier technology that hasn't really gotten there, and we all know the flaws. So I was looking at this data page, and I see that a lot of the underlying on OUSD is mostly just DAI that seems to be on compound right now. So there's two questions to this. First one is, how often does the strategy reallocate? And then the second one is why, just the sort of steel man it, like why wouldn't Maker just D3M into compound? Like what's the advantage to OUSD? And I have a caveat to that. I will be positive, I promise, but just take those two questions first.
No, it's a fair question. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, so there's a couple of ways that it works right now. So at a high level, the strategists should vote on, and this strategists are this week. It's a multi-sig, but we're turning that over in the very near future, in the next week or two, to the actual holders of OGB. So it's going to be, true decentralized governance where the holders are going to be voting on these decisions. And anyway, they set sort of a high level allocations on here's how much we want to put into these different strategies and protocols. And so there's a basket of these different strategies, whether it's DAI on compound or Aave or let's put it on Curve. And then when funds are deposited or withdrawn, it's going to try and match those percentages that are set. But then there's people can vote on a more frequent basis and move stuff around. So it's a little bit of a hybrid between the protocol doing stuff automatically, as well as some humans that are actually setting the direction based on the current market. we've tried to make it as decentralized as possible. So things like claiming rewards. So say we've earned a bunch of rewards on Compound we want to claim. It's the way it works is there's an incentivized function call there. So anyone enrolled is welcome to call that, claim all of the comp rewards, swap them into more DAI, redeploy them into the pool again. And then they get a 1% reward for paying the gas costs. So you can think of it as a reverse auction. Whoever is willing to take the lowest price will get it. The advantage of going with OUSD instead of just plowing funds directly into Compound yourself, again, it's that ability to chase yield across different protocols. Right now it's on Compound, but it could very easily flip to Aave tomorrow, or it could be on Curve or Convex, or we're seeing a new crop of DeFi protocols coming up, things like Morpho, which we're currently implementing and will be turning on soon, which offers another approach to lending where you're doing more peer-to-peer matching and creates more capital efficiency and higher yields. And so we're anticipating the yields on OUSD are going to be climbing considerably. We also have some new strategies on Curve and Convex, where we're going to be getting a higher percentage of yields that are distributed by Curve and Convex. So while I don't want to make any promises as far as where the APY is going to be, in the next month or two, we have good reason to believe it's going to be 2 or 3 times higher than what it's showing as today. So the yields are definitely looking up as far as new strategies that are currently in review and audits. Yeah, we're big fans of the Morpho team and working pretty closely with them. They've been putting forward proposals in our governance forum. They've been reviewing the code, and so we've really enjoyed working with them on putting up these new strategies. And we're constantly looking for new ways to earn yield for our holders, while still doing it in a safe and smart way. Seeing the comments here in the chat. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having us on.
Are there any other questions we can answer? Justin, Mark, Code Knight, Miguel?
I like that last question on the forum. I was just looking at it from Lit from Strategic Finance. He's saying, why do we need to put an extra layer of risk by going through OUSD when now we have this tool called the DSS Kiln. You can look it up if you get a chance on the forum, DSSKILN. That tool, although it still needs to be audited, I believe, was built by Protocol Engineering, some of the smartest people, in my opinion, when it comes to decentralized finance, the ecosystem. Why not use something like that as an example, that tool to just go out there, grab some yield on behalf of the DAO, and then avoid the extra layer of risk. So while I'm doing all this talking, hopefully you pulled up that last comment by Lit of Strategic Finance. That would be it's actually a really good question, right? Like, why take the extra layer of risk if you think there isn't no extra layer of risk? You kind of walk us through that too. That'd be cool.
Yeah, no, there's certainly a little bit of extra risk that comes on from the smart contracts. And I already talked through, all the things we're doing to try and minimize that, from taking a very slow, methodical release cycle, having multiple senior engineers review every single code change, having trailer bits and Open Zeppelin audit all of our code, and being very, we have a time lock, so nothing goes live right away. Everything is very slow and careful. So we're doing everything we can to minimize that risk. And what you get in exchange for that risk is higher yield. And so particularly as we're adding these new strategies into the mix, you're able to get access to things like Morpho. The new meta strategies are coming on Curve, and so you're able to get that higher yield without having to do the active management yourself. And so if you're participating in Aave, for example, you also need to have a whole process around going and constantly claiming the rewards and then swapping those rewards and then restaking those rewards. On Aave in particular, you have a special calendar of when you have to say you're going to claim your rewards and then come back and later and actually do it with the cooldown period. So not to say at all that Maker couldn't do this themselves. You guys have an incredibly smart team and are more than capable. But I think the advantage here is sort of the network effects that Origin's building, the community of people who are going to be watching the protocol, investing in the strategies and helping guide the protocol towards that higher yield. It's not necessarily the focus for Maker, but it is the thing that we're thinking about and focusing on every single day on how do we increase the yield while still keeping the funds safe. And so I think over time the advantage of that specialization is going to really pay off.
All right, let me just jump in here for a second. So I do have to hop off for another call, so I'm gonna stop the recording here, but the call can go on. So yeah, thank you guys on YouTube for watching, and thank you for the people present for this awesome conversation. I certainly learned a lot, even though I was only half listening. But anyway, yeah, cool, thank you.